What's up guys, welcome back to Saint Seiya Awakening and to the long overdue review of Capricorn SHURA. SHURA is a physical type attacker and I haven't pulled him on global, which is why we're over here on my SEA account, and from the Saints available at the beginning, he's there since the game starts. From the ones available at the beginning, I would rank him as number 3 perhaps. Pisces would have to be number 1 as always, then probably Milo, and then SHURA would be a really close third. He has some really interesting abilities and some really interesting mechanics to do with his crit level, so let's look at his skills like always. His first skill is a simple single target physical attack starting with a 100% multiplier. The second one though, the Sacred Blade Flurry, is an attack that hits an enemy 3 times, dealing 70% physical damage each time, so that's a total of 210 to start off with. Now the interesting thing is that if he kills the enemy that he hits, he will add an additional attack to this ability on the next turn. So instead of doing 3, he's gonna do 4. This can stack up to a total of 7 times. Don't be fooled by these up to 4 attacks. It's not 4 attacks total. It's 7 attacks total. So 3 basic and 4 extra. The third ability is a passive called Sacred Blade that increases his crit level by 600. It starts off at 600 and it goes to a maximum of 1400 when max skill. Now remember, we've mentioned in other videos before, in order to reach max crit rate, meaning that every single one of your attacks is going to be a critical hit, we think that the magical number is 2000, right? If you max skill this guy, he's at 1400 already before putting any Cosmo on, before any other boost that his crit level may get. This makes him, I think, one of the few units, if not the only unit in the game, that can make it to the 2000 threshold and guarantee critical hits on every strike. His fourth is also a passive, the Sacred Blade Edge, and it kind of complements the way that his second one works. This one, you got an additional attack when you killed a unit, and that attack stayed there for the rest of the fight, up to 7. On the fourth one though, when he doesn't kill an enemy, there's a certain probability that he'll do one more attack on the next turn, but it's only one single attack and it does not stack, so it's just a chance to do 1 extra for a total of 4. When this guy gets up to full stacks on this second ability, it is really quite impressive. With a total of 7, and without skilling him up, let's just look at the 70% multiplier. I think with a total of 7 attacks, if you use a Luna to give him a double turn, you're looking at an almost 1000% multiplier. If you max skill him, you're already way past 1200% multiplier. That is a ridiculous amount of damage. I don't think anybody else in the game can actually add up to that much, at least not from the guys available at the beginning. If you happen to pull some extra shooters or you want to use some blue books, although I don't advise you do, then you kind of have a hard choice between the second and the third skills. At the beginning of the game, I didn't know crap. I pulled an additional shooter, I upgraded his fourth skill, which makes no sense whatsoever, but if you upgrade the second one, then you're gonna get an immediate boost to the damage you do with your skill, without any stacks, without anything additional, without any crit level, nothing. This adds 5% to every hit, so remember, this isn't a total of 5%, it's really a total of 15% that you'll be adding. If you upgrade the third one though, you will increase his crit level by 200 on each one for a total of 1400 total possible. Now what this allows is for you to get closer to that 2000 crit level threshold without having to have amazing Cosmo, or you could go with speed Cosmo instead, or a stack attack on the Cosmo instead of having to worry about the crit level so much. So it's a really hard choice. I think that if I could choose again, instead of doing the fourth one, don't do the fourth one like me, do as I say, not as I do, then I would probably upgrade the third one first, then I would throw 1 at the second one, then probably move back to the third one, then to the second one, kind of try to bring them up side by side. I think that would produce the best results. Now moving on to his Cosmo, as you may notice here on the screen, my poor Shura never made it to 4 stars, so I haven't even unlocked the other Cosmo options. He's never been equipped. By the time I pulled him, I already had some really strong physical attackers already at like 6 stars. He was, I think from the Gold Saints, he was the second to last. The last one was Pisces. So when I got him, it just didn't make sense to invest resources in a single target attacker when I already have other ones built. But anyway, his Cosmo is pretty straight up. Under Solar, we have the 2 usual options. Those will be Peace Stone and Fire Drop. In his case though, I think he benefits much more from Fire Drop because his crit level is so high. It's almost guaranteed that he's gonna crit with every single attack. So by having some peak crit effect in there, you boost his damage by quite a bit. Remember, peak crit effect is the multiplier that gets added to attacks when you land a critical hit, right? So if you would do 10,000 normally and you crit, then that peak crit effect is the multiplier that gets applied to the calculation. Under Luna, the options are still Tenacity and Bloom. There's really not much else. There's Knowing for status resistance, but I think there's other characters that can benefit more from Knowing when it becomes available. It's not even out there in global yet. So Tenacity and Bloom, just get the best you can, get a lot of HP. If you can get some physical attack substats here, look for them, although they're pretty rare. So just go with physical physical defense if you need it, or with Cosmo defense if you're fighting a Cosmo defense boss or whatever. Under Star, the option to start with is obviously Staunch. It's still the only physical Cosmo related to physical attackers, so peak crit level won't hurt. Try to get him as close to 2000. Now, when you do level up and you manage to maybe upgrade his third skill a couple of times, then this peak crit level may not be that big of a benefit anymore. You could go with New Moon, get some really high speed on him, and try to snipe targets on the enemy team before they move. So again, start off with Staunch. Once you've leveled up enough and you have enough crit level, you could move to New Moon for much higher speed. Under Legendary, I asked around in the stream, I asked people that use SHURA on a regular basis, and it was a pretty strong consensus that Kingfisher is the best option, because he pretty much always crits. So the first part of the process here is already taken care of. He is gonna crit. Now you have a 70% chance to deal true damage, which is damage that ignores the enemy's defense, which means much higher damage. That's all you need to know. Because he attacks several times, he has several chances of proccing this effect. It's not just one, and the critical strike is pretty much guaranteed. Vulcan Chain is sort of an option as well. If you're going to try to snipe somebody turn 1, then you may use that extra damage on high HP enemies, but still Kingfisher by far I think is the #1 option. As for substats, just like any other physical attacker, we're going to be looking for physical attack, peak crit level, peak crit effect, and HP. That's really all they need. If you can get some speed in there, that would be great. If you can get some lifesteal, that could help too, but don't go out of your way looking for them. Those really are the 4 major stats. Now, in his case, because of his passive, again, his crit level is so high that you could be better off stacking peak crit effect and physical attack, and always some HP to make sure that he survives, because he needs to stack. Remember, he needs to kill a couple of targets. The fight is going to take a few rounds, so he really does benefit from having a higher HP pool. Make sure he stays alive long enough to get those stacks and start sniping people. Some of the teams he's usually used with are Kiki for some extra energy at the start of the round, Luna to give him a double turn and try to snipe 2 enemies in 1 move. You could also use Seiya to increase his damage. Remember, Seiya's weekend, when max skilled, increases the damage done to the enemy or to the target by 70%. That is a huge boost. Because he's not a character that's going to win in 1 round, then some protection is also good. You could bring Juna to mitigate some of the damage. You could bring Saori to revive him in case he dies. You could protect him with Mu, with Shion. As for attack boost, obviously he benefits from Nachi. Nachi doesn't use energy, which makes him a great candidate. You could also go with Data Loss, which is only 1 energy and also weakens the enemy. And always pair him with more attackers. Never bring 1 attacker to the battle, because if he dies, then you're pretty much screwed. Characters that can break defense, like Scorpio, like Pisces, could help boost his damage. Or other big threats that are available in the game, such as Saga in the moment, or Doko or Shion later in the game, then those are great too, because they kind of distract the enemy and they let Shuda do what he needs to do. As for his weaknesses in the game, then his friend Juna is also probably his strongest weakness at the moment. If the Vine is there, if the enemy has a Juna and he can get the Vine up, then it's pretty much impossible to kill anything with Shuda. However, keep something in mind. I haven't wanted to look at the Chinese version too much because I don't want to spoil the game for myself. I kind of want things to be a surprise when they come out on the version I'm playing. But I do know that there's this mode or this thing they came out with called Armor Repair, Cloth Repair. And there's a couple of Saints like Milo and Capricorn and I don't know who else that are getting a huge boost. And Capricorn's is that he can actually go through Juna's protection. So it may be a weakness now and for a long time until that's available, but there is some hope in the future and maybe he comes back as a super strong character because he can just go straight through Juna's Vine. Another weakness is that it does take him a while to get those stacks for the extra attacks. So if you need 4 stacks, which means you have to kill 4 characters, if you kill 4 characters, the battle's already won. Like the 7 attacks at that point are pretty much just overkill. So that's sort of a weakness. It takes him a while and then by the time it gets them, then the fight is done. His HP and speed are also not amazing. He's a C in HP and even worse, a B in speed, so that's why he needs some protection like Juna, Saori, whoever you can bring to keep him safe. His uses in the game are pretty much limited to PvP with a couple of very specific exceptions. Now, obviously, if you start with him, then you're going to be using him everywhere. You're going to bring him to dungeons, you're going to bring him to Titans, whatever it is that you're trying to progress in the story. But in endgame, or after a couple of months, really, his place is going to be PvP. There will be better monsters for dungeons that are going to help you clear them faster than these single target attackers. So in PvP, he can still be strong with the proper team built around him. And in PvE, he does have a very specific use. Now, remember, his second skill stacks up to 7 times. There are some bosses or some dungeons in the game that have more than 1 round. These stacks that Shuda gets, they carry over from round to round. So if you kill a couple of targets in round 1, then you kill a couple more targets in round 2, by the time you get to the boss or to the final round, you're going to have 7 stacks. If you pair him with Kiki, with Luna, to give him 2 turns, that can be an enormous amount of damage that he can dish out in turn 1 to the boss. We're talking 14 total attacks and the possibility of one-shotting bosses. Now, in order to test him, because I could never build him and I couldn't get my hands on an account that had him well built and ready to go, we're gonna head over here to, where is it? Sacred Duel. There is a trial section where you can bring all of the characters that you already own and they all go in at the same level. So the Cosmo doesn't matter, the abilities doesn't matter, the skill ups, the level, nothing matters. You go in, everybody's the same, and it's basically a testing ground for you to try new stuff, try different combinations, different teams. So that's what we're gonna do. Now, these enemies take a long time to kill. So I am going to fight through it. I'm going to kill them one by one to get SHURA stacks up, and I'll show you the differences in damage at the start of the battle with some stacks, with a weaken, with Nachi buff, with 2 turns, with armor break, etc. The team is ready to go from the Spanish review. So on the first round, we are simply going to do a single target attack, no buff, no nothing, just to see what kind of damage we can see. Alright, we don't use anybody so we can save the energy, and his attack will do 4,800. It didn't proc his 4th skill. No, actually it's the first round. It can't proc it. So, let me armor break this guy. And this time, let's test the same thing, but since we didn't kill the enemy in the previous round, we should have a possibility of proccing 1 additional attack. Still no Nachi buff. Let's see what he does. 48. There we go. 4 attacks because he didn't kill anybody in the previous round. Now let's test the same thing, but with Nachi buff. Still no weaken. Okay, no double turn, no nothing. Just Nachi buff and a little bit more armor break. Alright, now we're up to 6,300, still only 4 attacks, because that stack from not killing someone is not permanent. It doesn't stack up, it doesn't add up. Alright, now let's test the damage with Nachi buff, still no double turn, and 1 round of weaken. Because remember, weaken can stack up to 4 times. Let's see what happens now. Now it's almost 11,000. It's starting to look a lot better, and this first guy is going to die pretty soon. Matter of fact, he may die in his round, because I'm going to give him the buff. I am going to not double turn yet, right? But we're going to get 1 more stack of weaken. Now we have 2 stacks, and the damage should go up to almost 18,000. This guy almost died. Milo, don't kill him. Now, let's see what happens with 4 stacks of weaken. We're going to go once. We're going to go... Oh, I hope this guy doesn't die. Don't die, bro. Oh, no, this is 3 stacks of weaken. All right, let's test it. 25,000, and he dies, which means in the next round we have the chance of attacking 5 times. We're gonna start stacking these weakens just so we can see the total of 4. We'll need 2 rounds to see the total of 4. But now let's test. Do we get 5 attacks? 1, 2. Only 4. He didn't proc his 4th skill. That's only an 80% chance to proc, which is pretty unlucky to not proc with 80%, but whatever. We're going to give him buff again. We're going to give the double turn to Seiya, and let's see how high his damage can go with 4 stacks of weaken and some armor break to boot. Let's see. That's 43,000. The guy died. We get 1 more stack. That means more attacks on the next turn. Oh, and the counter here actually tells you how many extra swords you're going to get. Alright, let's do this again. Double weaken on this poor next victim. And I think we can do, what, 6 attacks now? Let's test. 1, 2. I'm not sure how many that did. I am not sure how many that did, but it seemed like a lot. Was it 6? 5 or 6? Or 7? I'm not even sure. Oh, shit. Alright, double weaken again. Let's go. And this guy's gonna die in this turn. So much damage at this point. 55,000. And he's dead. And these guys are super freaking tanky. These guys have like 1,000,000 HP each. They're designed to absorb damage, to be here and take all your attacks so you can test stuff. And they're still dying in, what, 2 turns? So you can see how his damage stacks up so fast. It's ridiculous. Oh, shoot, this guy's almost dead. We're not going to be able to weaken this guy, because if we do, we're going to kill him. Let's start weakening the guy next to him, and then that'll be the final test. Full stacks, 7 attacks. We'll see exactly how much we can do. All right, let's finish this guy. Boop, 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 boop. It's non-stop. It doesn't stop. It just keeps going. It's ridiculous. All right, here it comes, guys. This is the maximum. We have 4 stacks plus the 3 additional, plus the 3 basic attacks. That's going to be a total of 7 guaranteed. 4 stacks of weaken as well. I'm going to slow this down because I want to enjoy it. Let's go, SHURA. Show us what you can do, baby. Wait, what? 73? 73 times 7. That's a... Wait, what? That's like 1,400,000... Wait, I can't do math. That's a lot of damage. Holy shiznit, Batman. Whoa, die. Yeah, just get out of here. GG, end of battle. Holy crap. I'm gonna do the math on that one real quick. So I pulled out the calculator. It was over 500,000 damage on that enemy with just one turn. Remember, you can double turn him with Luna, though obviously then you wouldn't have the 4 stacks of weaken. But whatever, you get the idea. It's a lot of freaking damage. And that's gonna be it for today, guys. I hope the guide is useful. I hope you learn a little bit about how to use him, how to get him some stacks, how to push his damage to maximum levels. He really is a very fun character, very interesting. Unfortunately, the meta right now doesn't quite agree with him, but keep that in mind. Remember what I said, there will be a huge buff in the future. So he may be a really good character to start off with, then you kind of put him to rest for a while, let some other characters carry you through the story and through dungeons and whatever, and then once that buff comes out, we may see a return of SHURA to prime time with some crazy massive damage, and it should make for some pretty fun times. Anyway, that's it for today. If you haven't already, please hit like, remember to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye!